And welcome, everybody. This is Dementia Chats, and it is February 23rd. I was going to say 19, it's 2016. I'm off on my years here. And we missed the last session due to my travel schedule. We typically try to do these twice a month. For those of you that aren't familiar with me, I'm Lori LeBay, and I facilitate these. My mom had dementia for 30 years, so I'm really passionate about raising the voice of people with dementia. I think it's absolutely critical that we hear what they have to say. Their insights are brilliant, and they can help us all live better with this disease and serve them better. So we're just going to go around and kind of have everybody introduce themselves. And Kate, we'll go ahead and start with you on the top there.
Well, again, I have a diagnosis of non-amnesiac MCI. And I think it's advanced a little bit further than that. Dr. Rosenblum is being a little careful about that and saying we're still at MCI. My mother had Lewy body, Parkinsonism, and Alzheimer's, or aspects of those. And I was her primary caregiver.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
I said, okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you. Robert, do you want to go ahead and give us some information on yourself?
Yes, I live in Georgia. I was diagnosed with dementia with Lewy bodies in June of 2012. My mom had Alzheimer's. My dad had vascular dementia. And I oversee Forget-Me-Not Lewy body dementia on Facebook. I have a Facebook page myself, Lewy body Living Beyond Diagnosis, and have a website, lbdlivingbeyonddiagnosis.com. So I enjoy advocating.
Wonderful, thank you. And next we'll go with Paulan.
Hi, my name is Paulan. I live in Cincinnati. I was diagnosed with vascular dementia 4 years ago, and I'm very active online support groups and any mentoring or advocacy efforts that I can find.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Harry?
My name's Harry Urban. I live in Pennsylvania. 12 years ago, I was diagnosed with dementia, probably Alzheimer's. I created an online support group called Forget-Me-Not, and I write a blog at mythoughtsondementia.com.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Michael?
My name is Michael Ellenbogen. I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at age 49 after struggling for 10 years to get a diagnosis, and now I spend my time advocating.
Okay, great. True, do you want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself? True?
You unmuted her.
My full legal name is Truthful Loving Kindness.
Okay. You're on. Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Full legal name is Truthful Loving Kindness, and current diagnosis is MCI. What the neurologist says is I've got one foot in each door. I blog. I'm very active in Dementia Mentors, and I gather up stuff that other people write.
Wonderful. Thank you, True. And Igor, I don't know if we've met or not. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself?
Yes, can I speak?
Sure.
I wonder if, because you are probably all from USA, I'm from very far away, I'm from Macedonia, if the voice, microphone, and video is okay?
Yep, it works good. It works good.
Thank you. I liked your page a couple of months ago because my mom is having an Alzheimer's disease, and I had very deep wish to join a conversation like this one day. But you know, I'm young, 25, and I always have time for anything else but joining a conversation like this. So right now I saw that you are planning to start something like 5 minutes, so I joined it. I download this Zoom, and I just want to hear what people from all around the world living with that kind of disease look how the life looks like, because my mom is having it by so far 4 years, and it's for me it's very difficult because I'm the primary caregiving 24/7 for her. I went to some online courses how to be a better caregiver. I know everything about the disease, but believe it or not, it becomes so difficult time after time, because right now she is at stadium 5. She recognized me by my voice, and it's very difficult. I'm 25. I have no one to help me. So you know how I'm feeling right now.
Okay, well, great. The way these conversations work is our experts basically are the primary ones that will be talking on this, but we typically will get your questions and your comments from you utilizing the chat box, unless we decide to change that format. As we get more people, it gets a little bit more difficult to do. So we do have one question that we're going to start out with, but I think what we can do as a group is maybe go back and maybe give some suggestions in terms of those later stages, what might be helpful for you as a caregiver and care partner with your mom. Our experts might have some good ideas for you in terms of how do you find that peacefulness, how do you connect, how do you stay balanced, all of those types of things. But let's start first with the one question we had talked about earlier. And Michael, you had posed a question to us before we started. Do you want to go ahead and kind of pose that to the group again? And we can talk about how we feel about funding.
Sure. First of all, I don't want this to be a political topic, but I want it to be a topic that we share our feelings on how we feel it's impacting us in society based on what's happening out there in the world. And for the people who don't understand this, let me paint the picture a little bit. The 2017 budget that the president just passed allocated for almost $1 billion more for cancer. It included $0 for Alzheimer's. Yet, last year we were happy. We got the biggest increase ever. We got $350 million additional. But keep in mind, so did cancer get somewhere around $250 million. So while we've made some progress, it's been great. At the same time, we still are way, way behind. And when I say way, way behind, cancer is somewhere around $6 billion, if not close to $8 billion. And we, with Alzheimer's, is just under $1 billion. So in comparison, that's like for every $8 that goes to cancer, less than $1 goes to dementia. To put it in perspective. To me, as a person who's living with this disease, I'm fuming. I am fuming. Not that I dislike the folks who have cancer or anything like that, but it's that I'm being treated so unfairly that we are forgotten in this society. It's almost like, why are those folks more important than we are? We're dying. We're unable to speak, a lot of us. There's no survivors, and it just gets me so frustrated to see that nobody cares to want to do more for us. And the problem is, it's because many of us don't speak up about this, and it's because we don't have survivors like the people with cancer. They have all these survivors. My God, I wish we had survivors, but we don't. And I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but for me personally, I'm fuming every day to see this and to see how society treats us like they just don't care about us for some reason. At least that's how I feel.
Okay.
Michael, we have a chance right now in Igor to find out how research is funded in other parts of the world. And I'd like to ask Igor what he knows about how research is funded in Macedonia.
If I understand good, the question for me is how Macedonians science dealing with the Alzheimer's research?
Yes.
In April last year, I went to a conference in Skopje, in the capital town of Macedonia. There were the best doctors, neurologists, and psychiatrists from all over my country in one place. That even take place every 3 years. And believe it or not, the story they was selling in was about dementia, Alzheimer's, and the other one was Pick's disease, frontotemporal dementia. And I was invited there as one who is, as the youngest man in Macedonia who is living with Alzheimer's patients. And it was like 2 hours speaking about dementia, and it didn't fulfill my expectation because unfortunately Macedonia do nothing about Alzheimer's patients. We don't have Alzheimer's center, caregiving center. The nearest center is in Bulgaria, and Bulgaria is doing some researches about it, and they are willing to help Alzheimer's patients by taking care of them while the government paying for it. In Macedonia, the only thing I can get from my government is 50 euros per month just to cover up the medical things, the pills for my mom, nothing else. I don't know, but I believe the researches and the science in Macedonia is not good enough to do something more about it. I'm always looking forward if I can know something, but so far, according to my mom's doctor, my neurologist, nothing happens. The only thing about financing this disease is that 50 euros that government pays me to cover up the medical things. And you all know how expensive the other things are for me. I have to pay for the food. I have to pay for someone from my relative to take care of my mom while I'm out or hanging out with my friends. So far Macedonia is very low level of Alzheimer's researching and supporting the caregivers.
Do they do like any walks over there? Do you have an Alzheimer's association specifically over there, or?
No, in Macedonia we don't have association for Alzheimer's disease. We have only association for old people.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I contacted them, but they rejected me because they don't want to share nothing with Alzheimer's. They told me that the best thing that we can help you is the stadium where your mom cannot move or cannot say words or everything. We can just change diapers, feed her with tube and things like that. Nothing more.
Okay. Michael, you had a comment?
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that when we're dealing with people from all over the world, Alzheimer's and dementia is treated very differently around the world. What may be very important here in the U.S. or other leading countries, that's not the same. I mean, for example, like in Africa, the number one thing there is water.
Mm-hmm.
They're just concerned about getting water to everybody. So I think it's important to recognize that when we're trying to compare things with other parts of the world.
Mm-hmm. Good point. That's a good point. Robert, what are your thoughts about funding, and how do you feel about what has or hasn't been funded for dementia in the U.S. here?
It's very frustrating when you look, and like Michael says, it makes you angry that there's not more that's done. I mean, we sit here with what I think, Michael, what dementia is the sixth leading cause of dementia, isn't it?
Third.
We're
afraid to even say that.
Okay. Third leading cause of dementia. And there's that disparity. And certainly I have nothing against people with cancer. You know, I've had it in my family, you know. So I understand the dynamics of that. But I think there has to be an effort to take it to to a different level, because everyone with dementia is going to die. And that's not true. And everybody with cancer ultimately is going to die. But at the same time, there are survivors from the cancer. There are those individuals that get treatment. There's been far more advancement. Really, there's been no advancement in dementia, other than maybe in some cases some quality of life issues with the medications that are on the market. And there's nothing there to alter the path of disease where there is in cancer. So there's got to be an effort to put more funds into dementia because numbers are increasing rapidly.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And I do too. And one thing I do, and I don't know if it has any impact or not, but on my Facebook page, when my friends put up something about breast cancer, I'm so sick of those because they're several times a day, I will put up something about dementia. It's my answer to breast cancer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, and I think it is. It's all, it's all about awareness and getting people to know how prevalent this is. Paulan, what are your thoughts about funding, and how does that make you feel?
Well, I think obviously funding is critical. It's way underfunded. I think part of the problem is that this is such a hidden disease. Cancer is so much more publicized, and there's not that much discussion about dementia. And I think that arises from two different reasons. One is that the people that have it are not able to get out there as much and talk about it. And the society at large tends to downplay it as an issue. Now it's going to become a very big issue as people are moving into the baby boomers are all moving into this aging stage. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really going to be a big problem. But I feel very offended and slighted that there's not more money funded to research and help for people with dementia.
Mm-hmm. Harry, how about you? How do you feel about it?
Well, first of all, I think we have to. I think we have to get away from the idea of funding Alzheimer's. I think we have to be funding dementia because I don't want to slight the people that have Lewy bodies and vascular and FTD, all the other dementias. So we can't just single out complaining that we don't have funding for Alzheimer's. It has to be for all dementia. Number two, if we would sink so much money into finding a cure for Alzheimer's, would I be able to afford it? That's a big question. My answer would be, I don't think I'd be able to afford it. So don't get excited about that too much. Now, what does concern me is having more funding channeled into helping us to live with this disease. More programs to help us. Not near enough money is going into that. I mean, very, very little is going into that. And I think that's wrong. And I think when we think of funding, the first thing that pops up in our mind is research. And now maybe my point of view is different than most, but I would like to see more funding into helping us live with the disease.
Great. Go ahead, Michael.
Harry brings a good point, but I want you to think of research in a different way. There's actual research going on that NIH is spending money on how to improve people's lives in nursing homes, what they have to do to. So when you think about research, it's not always drugs. Research is also to see how we can live better and to allow us to adapt to society better with living with. So I don't want people to think it's always just drug stuff, because there's a lot of stuff going on Like right now, for example, they're lowering the use of psychotic drugs in nursing homes. They've dropped that drastically in the last 2 years. And that's all done through research. They're saying that, hey, these people don't need to be drugged all the time. Let's take them off the drugs and let's figure out the programs and adapt the programs so they can do things without needing the drugs. So
Michael?
that's something to think about.
I'd like to add to that, though. The antipsychotic drugs and such, a lot of that not using it is because so many people are opting for palliative care and not wanting a lot of drugs or just using drugs under the worst possible circumstances. I know when my mother spent the last year of her life in a care center, all she ever had was Ativan, and that was on rare occasions. So I think that's palliative care has made a huge difference too.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Go ahead, Robert. Oh, Robert, we need to unmute you.
Excuse me. Those things that Michael are talking about started about 10 years ago. I did long-term care consulting for 10 years. And I had to review every patient's chart in the facility. I've been retired now. This is going into my 6th year. But I had to review every patient's chart and make recommendations to the physicians. This thing with antipsychotics has been going on for years and years, and at least 10 years. You had to justify every time a patient in a nursing home was put on an antipsychotic, they better be willing to defend their position with state inspectors and even federal inspectors. Because I have been in facilities that because they got 100%, got no deficiencies, the feds would come in. And they go through the same process of looking at those drugs. So it's a process that's been 10 years, and we are some better today than we were, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah, I agree, and I appreciate the fact that Michael brought up that there are different types of research being done. And there's we don't hear enough about that, and I think everyone automatically thinks when there's a disease, the only type of research that's done is drug related, cure related. And what I hear so much and so often from people who are living with this disease, both diagnosed and those that care, are we need support to live better with the disease, and not just at the end stages in a nursing home, but while we're still able to live in our house. So to get support to all of you and to Igor so he can help take care of his mom in a better light and things. And I think part of that has to do with raising the awareness, in building community for people to come out. Go ahead, Kate.
Yeah, has anybody here done the Habit program at Mayo in Rochester? No? You might want to look into that. That is a program that teaches you how to live with dementia. And you get to the information on it through the neurology department at Mayo Rochester. It's a brainchild of Dr. Brad Bove, Boeve, and you might want to check it out.
Yeah, they use, if I'm not mistaken, it's like an 8 or 10 week course, and they use a calendar structure and talk about meditation and different things to be able to keep on track and try to build in those things early so that they're useful as the disease progresses. Michael, you had a comment, I thought?
Yeah, I got a real interesting one that people may not even know of. Dementia Friendly America that's starting to happen across the United States. That is actually a research project. That's being funded by government researchers and other people, including the Alzheimer's Association and AARP. that is actually a research project, believe it or not, that's going on right now. So it's happening all around us. We just don't know unless you're close to these things or you look at these things. But there's a lot of stuff happening that you'd be amazed.
What was the name of that again? The name?
It's Dementia Friendly America, and it's being modeled after Dementia Friendly Communities under ACT. Actually, in Lori State, they were the first to come out to do this, which is great. Very slow process. Again, these things take a long damn time, unfortunately, but they're following that model and they're expanding that across the United States.
Yeah, it's the Act on Alzheimer's that they've done, and it'll be interesting. It would be interesting to see that research being part of that process. I think they're doing a lot of good things, but I know that there's been a lot of comments regarding the surveys not really being valid and giving pertinent information, and I believe those have been adjusted, but they don't really talk about it much. So it's an interesting process, and I think it's good. But for me personally, I don't believe in one process. That's just me. I think we need multiple processes. I think we need true collaboration, and to me, I think that's the way we really make progress. But that's just my personal thoughts. I don't
also have geographical and cultural differences.
Well, exactly. I think everything has to be adapted and fluid to the community that you're working with, and also the resources that you have available, are going to differ from one spot to the next, the skill sets and things. So, True, we haven't heard from you on what your feeling is about funding and how that makes you feel.
Well, truthfully, I've lost the ability to work with numbers enough that mostly I forget which is bigger, a million or a billion, and that sort of thing. So the specific numbers they just float by. The general feel, though, is that other types of patients have a higher priority for our government than the ones who can't make the wheel squeak.
Okay. So basically, overall, what I've heard from our experts here living with dementia is that the lack of funding is definitely felt and touches you and makes you feel not as valued and not as understood. Would that be a correct statement from what I've heard from people's comments here? And that everybody would like to see more funding, given the numbers are so huge, and also more research in terms of not only a cure, but in terms of support systems and methodology to live better with this disease and to support family life, whatever that looks like for you. Would that be?
I think Igor had a comment, had his hand raised for one.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Igor.
Thank you. I just want to say that unfortunately I'm out of battery on my phone, so I have to turn off. But before leaving, I must say that it was a pleasure to meet you, and I have to keep checking your meeting times for a conversation like this, so I will try to connect again. Did you know when you will meet again like this?
Yeah, the March 8th, so we meet on the 2nd and the 4th Tuesdays. And that's Tuesdays US time, so I'm not sure what your time zone is there. And then at 10 o'clock here Central Time. What time is it where you are?
Oh, 1 second. Oh, I think it's something like 5 p.m.
Okay. And what day is it there? Are you Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah, it's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
No, wait. Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday? Okay. Okay. Sounds good. So yeah, we'll be the same time, but on March 8th will be our next meeting. Okay?
Yeah, okay. I have so much things to do, so we will meet again, and I will explain a lot of things about my mom's past, my mom's right now, and my life about Alzheimer's. Believe me, you will like to hear my story.
Looking forward to it.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, wonderful. So we'll go ahead and continue on here in terms of our talk. Was there anything else that anybody wanted to say about funding, or even maybe types of research they'd like to see that they haven't heard about? Because sometimes we come up with ideas, and sometimes it's out there and we don't know about it. And other times, maybe it's something we need to speak about a little bit more. Are there types of research that you'd like to see happen?
Well, I'd love to see prevention. And beyond just a cure, I would like to see, especially because it appears to be very familial for our family, I would like to see something, I don't know if it would be a vaccine or whatever, that would keep my grandnephews and niece from having to go through this. And that's more important than curing me.
And I don't know if they can do the prevention when they don't really know the cause yet.
I think you've got a barrier there in accomplishing it, because if you don't know what you're shooting at,
I agree that's a ways down the line, but doesn't mean you don't shoot for it.
that's true.
Yeah. Go ahead, Paulan.
I just want to add that I think the funding is needed for the family who is taking care of the people with dementia as well. And we're leaving that part out a little bit because we have people who have to leave their jobs so they can stay home and be a care partner. And I think we're neglecting those people a lot, the caregivers.
I knew Harry was going to make a comment. It had been way too long. He was silent.
I was going to stay quiet, but I can't. I think we have to get in touch with the people living with this disease to find out what they would like. Okay, now we have all these committees telling us what we want and where this funding should go, but we don't talk to the people living this disease every day and saying, what would you like to see the funding go to? And the people I talk to, I spend all my life talking to people, not on committees, not in government. I talk to the people living this disease on the street. And what they are concerned about is can I afford to go into a care facility? How is my family handling the stress of this disease? It's tearing my family apart. Research isn't going into that. Ways to help. Now, yeah, there's token research being done. I know that. But if you go out on the street and talk, you will find out that we don't see it. Okay?
Harry?
Yes.
The thing is that we can talk to the people on the street, but if we don't relay that to the people who are in control of budgets and in control of whatever, aka the government, then nothing is going to happen.
But have you ever talked to a senator about this disease?
Yes.
I have. I have too.
I have.
And they gave me the time to listen to me. Then they turned around and walked away, and that's the last I've heard of it. the information I gave them, they did not use.
Well, I am lucky enough to live in a state where we've got a couple of senators and a number of representatives who are touched by this disease in their families. And I have had their attention. I have known them for a long time. And I guess I find it easy, but that, I have it easy because of who they are.
I know people that don't have it that easy. I know people that are living in care facilities. They run out of money and they're kicked out. Okay. I know people that can't afford the medication. I know people that are so stressed out that there's abuse in the family. Things like that. That's the stuff I see. And that's the stuff I think funding, some funding money, I don't care what it is. Give us a token, but try to correct some of those problems.
Michael, you had a comment?
I agree with what Harry's been saying here, and I think it's very important that all research gets people involved who are living with the disease, no matter what kind of research is being done. And when I say that, I don't mean one person with the damn disease.
Mm-hmm.
They need to include a group of people with the disease, because too often I see that they say, oh, okay, well, I got one person with the disease. And sadly to say, that person might be already too far gone with the disease and isn't capable of speaking up. So I think it's important that we get the right people involved and get many people in it, because you need multiple opinions, not just a one-sided opinion when they come up with these things. And I would encourage Harry, because I know what you're doing, Harry. Mm-hmm. I would encourage taking the things that you're learning and put it into some kind of a document, not using the people's names, but put it and start getting it out to some of those big people to influence what's being done. You'd be amazed what powerful information you would be giving to those people if you get it in the right hands. And I'd be more than happy to help you. But get that information there, because they're all good, important points. And that's some of the things that I did 5-6 years ago. I got with a lot of people with dementia, and I've gotten a lot of feedback. And that's what I use today to try to educate the rest of the world with. So I think it's important to take that information and get it to the right people, because it's really needed.
Yeah, and I agree, and True, I'm going to get to you next, but I agree that, it needs to be a group. And so often, I mean, it's kind of funny, because you go from, we've gone through a lot of change where people with dementia weren't on any committees. And then there was, well, we have one, and then that was like, oh, that was their quota. They got one. And there was this big pride, proud moment in that. And then you also saw, if you watch closely, many of them were very controlled in terms of what they could say, what they couldn't say, and it had to align with whatever the organization or company's mission was. And I mean, they were locked down legally by signing something. If you're gonna have this voice, you will stay to our focus, which again, totally shuts down having an authentic conversation and needs, and being honest with that. I mean, I understand that, they want to lobby and they want to, push certain things forward, but I don't agree in shutting down a voice that needs to be heard either. I think that that's a disjustice. I think it slows our progress down a ton. And, if we could get people to start looking at, you are our think tank, you guys come up with the ideas that are practical and will really actually help people live with the disease better, not only for those diagnosed, but those caring for them, their communities at large, and then let the rest of the committee help figure out how to implement it. But to come up with really the brainstorming of what's really going to affect and have a positive effect on our lives. I think that voice needs to be heard, and it needs to be heard strongly, but I don't think that that's going to happen until, organizations and companies and government really come to the place that say, you know what, they got a lot of good ideas. And I don't think they're there yet, to be honest with you. I think that's out of their box of thinking. You know, they've always kind of been in control and looked at the needs and assessed. And I don't think that they have pulled those in that of who they're meeting the needs to. I don't think they've pulled that into the equation enough. So I'm going to go to True first, and then I'll go back up to you, Kate.
Okay.
I think one of the big things is the question actually of diagnosis, because so many doctors and probably other professionals feel that if a person has a diagnosis of dementia, this is what one of my neurologists told me just a little bit ago, no, they don't have self-awareness. If your friends have self-awareness of what their symptoms are and what they want, they probably have the wrong diagnosis. So if professionals are looking at a dementia patient in those terms, what the dementia patient says they want or feel is going to be devalued. It has no value because they obviously have the wrong diagnosis. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a much larger issue than just getting our voice out there. I put out the voice, what people write, and they might get 4 reads. They might get 7 reads. And it's usually not from professionals who have an ability to do anything about it in a larger context. What they do is important, but it's in a small context. And until there is more address of what dementia is, I don't think the dementia person's voice can get the value in order to do some of the things that need to be done.
Mm-hmm. Kate, I'm going to go to you. And
okay. I think, first of all, it's incumbent on us, not the representative or the senator, but on us to bring the idea to their attention. They don't know who to ask. And they've got 1,000 different things coming in their direction. So we've got to bring it to them. And if we can also get appointments with them as individuals, especially, hey, next time they're in town, you want a meeting with them, that sort of thing. You'd be surprised. You could get meetings with your representatives. And Harry, yeah. And then I want to say, in my little advocacy trip last year to DC, the best speaker there was a fella who was, I think you know him, Lori, and I can't think of his name, but who was a college professor in real life, or I guess in past life, but who was, I would guess, early to mid-stage at that time. And what he brought forth, and because he was saying it in the way a person at early to mid-stage would be saying it, had a huge impact. Mm-hmm. So they have to see it to believe it.
I think there's a lot of truth in that. You have to see it to believe it. Because, I mean, how many times do you guys hear, people say, well, you look fine, and that's that's a big thing to get over. Here, you had a comment?
Yeah. Every year they have a meeting down in Washington where groups get down to talk to the senators. And when you go down there, you end up talking to an aide. You don't even get near the senator. And they have these meetings every year, and everybody gets excited over it, and nothing comes out of those meetings. Nothing tangible comes out of those meetings. Now, I know in the state of Pennsylvania, we still don't have a state budget. So how's it going to be any funding? they can't even decide on that. How are they going to decide on issues that is important to the people?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Michael.
The one thing I want to say to everybody here, don't underestimate the power of those aides. Those aides, believe it or not, are more powerful than your congressmen's. They are what is keeping them alive. And if you can win over the aide, you can win over the congressman. It's because of those aides that I have 2 letters of writing in the congressional record. Because I convinced the aide who fell in love with the whole idea and the concept, and they sold it to the congressman. So I'm telling you, those people there, I know they're young. My God, they're unbelievably young. But I will tell you, if you spend the time with them and keep coming back to them, you can win them over. And it's actually easier to win them over than it is probably your congressman. And I can't tell you how many times I got the aide to get the congressman involved to do something. So please give them a lot more credit than what you think they can do.
Well, and they're young and they're eager, and they're there to make a reputation too. And so if you can sell your point, they write up and they go after it, all teeth in. But again, part of it is I think a lot of times we think if we just meet once, it'll happen. But it's following up and saying, where's it going, and can we meet again, and all those things. And most of us don't have time to do that. And that's where things fall through the crack. And that's where the lobbyists really, kind of raise to the top, because they're just dogging these guys, and bottom line, and it makes a difference. Go ahead, Kate.
Following up doesn't mean you have to have another meeting with them.
Mm-hmm.
Send them a 2-line email to say, thank you for meeting with me. I found some more information for you, or I really appreciated seeing you, or just, have you heard anything about? It doesn't take much to follow up.
Yeah, that's true. Robert, you've got to have a comment over there.
I'm listening right now.
You're listening right now. Okay.
On a positive note, I think that there is more inclusion of people with dementia into some of these conversations. I personally had some invitations to speak here or to talk here, and I think that there are some support groups online that are combining people with dementia and scholastic academic. I can't think of the word, but I think it's getting better. I really do. I think that we just have to get more people out there and ready to speak.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's definitely improved. I mean, you look at, just all the different variables that are out there that 5 years ago didn't exist. From dementia mentors, dementia chats, all the different organizations, that are out there. I mean, there's a ton of different platforms. And, one of the issues I think, and with that is sometimes there's a competition between all those pieces too. And that has to go away. I mean, it's really the more the merrier. If people are doing good work, we need to lift one another up. We need to let people have options in terms of where they turn and how they get there. And, and many want to go into more than one group. And so I think that's another thing when it comes to research and support. Again, I think we have this mentality sometimes here in the U.S., I can't speak for abroad, that there's a silver bullet. There's one method that's going to work. And I think, we have to be open to going more than one method can work, and go ahead, Michael.
No, I'll tell you, Lori, they're all good points you're bringing up, and I'm glad you're bringing it out. I mean, I'm seeing that we've expanded over the years, and we have a lot more people with dementia speaking out, and I think it's wonderful. I really do. Compared to 5 years ago, I mean, we wouldn't have had the people that we even have here today, so I think it's great. But you bring out a very, very important point. We're starting to fight between ourselves. And that has to stop, because there's all these different groups out there that are forming today, and I think it's great that we have these groups, and I think we need to have all the possibilities to go to all these. But we can't be fighting among ourselves, because we're such a small group, and we need to expand and to grow, but we need to grow together. And I hope you folks get the word out to everybody. The world's big enough for all of us, and we all need to work in harmony.
I agree, Michael. I think one of the things is that, sure, we're going to disagree with each other once in a while. That's going to happen, and it's good to debate things amongst ourselves, because that's how we iron things out and find out what everybody thinks. So as long as we come to a conclusion and we give everybody their chance to speak. But yeah, I do think that we do need to stick together here.
Yeah. And I don't think we'll always come to a conclusion. I mean, sometimes it's just voicing opinions, but in a respectful manner. And I mean, I see it, I'll use the memory cafes as an example. There would be times where, and not just memory cafes, but other Alzheimer's support groups and things, and there would be like this fierce fighting over, well, that's my person. Well, no, nobody owns anybody. They're individuals. They can be members of whatever group they want, as many groups as they want. Why are we doing this? You know, and so I would go out and like help people start up a memory cafe, and they would be nervous. And it's like, no, we will tell our members, because some of our members will actually want to come out and help you start and you know, kind of be that base. And then they may stay with you, or they may pull back. But, you know, let's help one another. And yeah, everything's a little bit different, and personalities are different. Time frames and days of offerings can make a difference. What's going on in somebody's life. I don't know why we get so judgmental and so proprietary. You know, there is no ownership. This disease, you know, has a mind of its own. It goes where it wants. It does what it wants, whatever it wants, you know, and stages ebb and flow. And as a society, we have to learn to ebb and flow and support that. And we're making headway. We're making headway just by having these conversations, but we still have a long, long ways to go. You know, one of the buzzwords now, you know, that you hear about all the time is the collaborative efforts, And there's a lot of collaboration in a box going on right now, where the word is used, but it isn't, it really isn't totally inclusive, I guess. And you know, over time that'll change too, because there'll be pressure to demand that from people. And so part of it is just being aware of the words we use, and you know, how inclusive really are we. I think as individuals we have to start with ourselves and take a look inside, because sometimes we're not as collaborative or as inclusive as we think we are with stuff too, and we have to be honest with that if we want groups and organizations and companies and communities to do the same, because we all, you know, we grew up to categorize things. That's how our brains work. That's how we process things, and so it's almost an undoing that's going on. Kate, go ahead.
One other thing, we have to accept each other for who we are. We're all too danged old to improve our characters. So let's just accept each other.
Mm-hmm. Good thought. Any comments on what we've just talked about at all? Paulan, anything spinning in your head there?
No, like I said, I think that we just need to get out there as much as possible and speak as much as we can to heighten awareness, and I think that's going to be the answer. Mm-hmm. Coming out of the closet. People are afraid. I was recently assembling a group of people for a news special, and many of them are very hesitant still to come out of the closet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that that's one issue we need to deal with.
Yeah, I agree. True, any comments? Nope, you're good. Michael, any last comments you want to add? We've got about 5 minutes left.
No, I think you covered it all. I think the ultimate thing is we have to learn that we're going to agree to disagree, because that's just going to happen. And I also think that we have to be careful, when we do disagree, because you have to look at the person that you're talking to, whether they have the knowledge or don't have the knowledge. And I think that's something we have to take in consideration.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you want to give an example of what you're talking about in terms of if they have the knowledge or don't have the knowledge?
Yeah, there's many times that I guess I will talk to people and I may disagree with them, but I also look at their experience. And based on their experience, I sometimes have to say, hey, I have to give them the benefit of the doubt because of who they are. I tend to speak to a lot of high-level functioning people in this arena. So when they speak to me, they're pretty much the people that I got to say I have to trust and put faith in them because they've been doing this a lot longer than I have. And when they give me some of their opinions, I have to respect their opinions that they know more than what the hell I know. So even though we might disagree, I have to put some weight on saying, okay, well, yeah, maybe they do know the right thing.
Okay. Great. Kate, any last comments for you?
No, just it's been fun.
Good. Robert, anything you'd like to add or?
Not now.
Not now.
I'm sobering it all.
Okay. Well, I think it's been a really, really interesting conversation. True, I'm just going to throw it to you one more time and see if there's anything that you want to say. Nope, you're good. And Paulan, any last comments?
I'm good.
You're good. Michael?
Nothing here.
Okay, well, this will be a first. We're going to close her up 3 minutes early, I think. But no sense in just filling air. Like I said, I think it was a really interesting conversation that we had here. And again, I appreciate all of your time. So have a great week. And then I believe, I'm just going to check my phone here, but I think we said it was March 8th will be our next meeting. And yep, March 8th. So we'll post that as well. So thanks everybody. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
You too.
Bye-bye.